New era, entering the realm of the ultra.
Don't worry about it, man. I'm going to be here with you. This is Steve from Natural Selection Angling, and we're going to go over a really cool process today that I've never seen anybody use to build a bait like this. But we're going to go ahead and give it a try and see how it goes. And my preliminary testing was fairly positive. These are really beautiful blanks. They've got really nice colors, and the finish on them is really nice too. So let's see if we can preserve that and make something cool. What I'm doing here is I'm drilling some holes into this blank to remove some material and create pockets, and these pockets can later be filled. And I'm going to fill them with colored epoxy, right? So you've seen a lot of these videos where I make these type of spoons and other types of spoons too, and what do we always have to do first? Prepare the surface, right? So we got to tear that surface down, sand it down, so that it can have some tooth on it, so that we can either paint it or we can epoxy it. But I don't want to mess up the surface on these because they're beautiful. So I want to leave the colors intact, and I don't want to sand it, and I don't want to do any other kind of prep with it except drill these holes. So I'm going to take this drill and use this 3/16 drill bit, and I'm going to drill 3 holes into each blank in roughly the same pattern. I'm not using a jig or a fixture for it, I'm just using my eye. And this drill bit is a 2-step drill bit. It's got a built-in arbor, and then it's got the full bore of the drill, of the bit, is flat on the bottom, right? So it steps up to that, and it's going to create like a pocket that has 2 separate depths to it, a deep hole in the center, and then a little bit less deep hole around the rim. And this is going to help the epoxy really grab on, but it's going to make a really cool effect later too. And I'm going to show that to you and why this happens. Okay, so these look really good, and what I have to do is make sure that they're deburred. Okay, sometimes when you drill into metal, some little burrs will stick up, and the way to find that is to just use a paper towel and rub a paper towel across the surface. And the paper towel, you'll hear it and you'll feel it, and it'll sacrifice little pieces of itself on whatever's rough or jagged, and then just take care of that. Right, so we've deburred all the holes on each of these, and now we're going to go ahead and prepare some UV epoxy with pigments that we're going to use to color these baits. So I'm going to take this neon pink to start with, and you can see I'm not using too much of it. In my previous video where I used a method to make epoxy like this, I just used way too much pigment. And it's not like I'm concerned with wasting a little bit of pigment. It's not expensive or anything, but it just takes a lot more work to mix up a giant pile than it does to mix up a smaller pile. Next we'll use some of this orange, which is really fishy. I really like that color. And we're going to use this neon yellow as well. Now I'm adding the UV resin here, and this is just some cheap Chinese resin that I had bought for another project doing some fly tying, and it works really good. I mean, I thought it was very satisfactory, the performance, and this is like kind of a medium viscosity. It's not very runny, but it's not very thick. I'm using about twice the volume of UV resin as of the powder. And you have to imagine there's a lot of airspace in the powder. It's pretty fluffy, but if it were kind of, settled down, it would be about 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 resin to pigment. Now I'm going to use the dotting tool, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of resin and just kind of dab it down into the hole. And I don't want this to come all the way to the surface, and I don't want it to have a dome on it. I want it to be slightly concave. And that's one of the reasons why I drilled a 2-step hole here, because that edge, when this fills up, if we keep the epoxy below the horizon of the spoon, it's kind of going to form a meniscus there where it has a concavity in it. And it'll be very strongly pigmented in the center, and then a little less pigmented around the edges, and this gives like a really nice rosette effect that I like, and I've talked about this in other videos. It's just an extra dimension. I don't think it does anything for the fish catching ability of it, but it really does look cool, and I like that. All right, moving on from the neon yellow, we're now going to go ahead and do this neon pink. This is a really nice pigment. This one's really, really rich. I like this one a lot. It's a little bit dark of a pink, a little bit darker of a pink, but I like it, and it does have great neon properties, which is going to show off great in under UV light. So again, we're going to do the same thing here, and we're just going to start filling these concavities with epoxy and pigment until they're almost full to the top, but not quite. There will be another step here later that I'll describe to you. And you'll see occasionally during this process here, I'll have too much in a spoon, and I'll just take the dry tool and stick it back in there and pull some out, which is what you're seeing here. In the last sequence, I moved some of the yellow around too. If there's too much in there, dry the tool off, stick the tool in, and it'll adhere to the tool a little bit, and you could just take out some of the material. Okay, that looks good. Now we're going to move on to the neon orange and fill this last hole in all these spoons. Now there are a couple of them that I did only with yellow, and that was the purple one because that was my test piece. I just wanted to see what it looked like. I wasn't really, looking for anything special here, and that's not shown because I'd completed that piece before I did this, so I just left it to show you at the end. So I did that also with the red one and used only yellow because A, it has great contrast with the red, and then you'll see under UV light how fishy this is and why this will be a steelhead killer. And I'm going to come back to that. And you'll see why both red and purple are underrated colors, and you'll recognize this right away if you look at anything red or purple under a UV light. Okay, now because I don't want to mess up this surface, I don't want to sand anything or do any post-processing whatsoever past the primary operations. I'm just going to work off a little bit that I got on top of the spoon with a cotton swab. Now, I'm going to hit these fully with the UV light. I'm going to set them fully. And you're going to see that the next step is that I'm going to add a clear drop of epoxy on top of these. Okay? It's okay to fully set them, and I'll explain. I'm popping a bubble here before it's too late. I was just about to harden that, and I saw a bubble, so I got the bubble out, and now I'll harden it. So remember, we left this epoxy with a slight concavity. Okay, it's below the surface of the spoon, and then we're going to put a drop of clear on top. And the reason we're going to do that is because it's going to form a lens. And that lens is going to make the epoxy underneath very shiny as well, because there's so much pigment mixed into it that it's kind of grainy. So it has like a sandy surface to it, and it won't shine unless you cover it with clear epoxy. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting a dab of epoxy in there so that it domes up a little bit, and it acts like a toric lens. And it's like a shaping lens, okay? And it's going to bend the light in and around those colors. And it's going to have a really cool effect. Just be careful here. This is the last step. We don't want to make a mistake here and have to wipe anything off. So just keep adding a little bit at a time until the hole is full and you have a slight dome. That's why I have these spoons propped up on this chopstick so that top surface is level so I can get a good dome and it's not lopsided. And this is looking really good. I'm really liking the way this is coming together. When I do these voiceovers, I'm watching the video and commenting on it, but it's not in the highest possible resolution because it'll just lag my computer so bad that it'll hang up and mess up my work. So I can't really see it yet, but I hope for your guys' sake that it looks really good. It looked good in real life with my old and tired eyes. But when I post this, I'll probably get my first look at it in full HD, and I bet it's pretty cool. I know, go ahead and harden these up. Now, this little torch is not enough really to harden this UV resin fully and cure it completely. I mean, I guess it could if you left it on top of it forever. So this is a basic set, and it's hard to the touch, but it's not fully cured yet. And then I'll put these in the direct sun outside for a few hours, because that's the best ultraviolet radiation you're going to be able to get. That'll cure them off really nice and hard. Dry to the touch, everything looks good. Let's take a look at what we have. Now that, guys, is a pretty piece. I hope the video does it justice, but these are really pretty pieces. And I just like the idea that I didn't have to mar the surface or anything. And it just came up really nice. They're beautiful pieces. So we started off real plain, just with this plain spoon. But then I made this out of it. And then this does this. And that's why this is so great and fishy for steelhead, because look, it turns orange with yellow spots. And that's a great color for them. You can just see how beautiful these pieces are and how the UV really kicks them off. So that's a little indirect UV, and this is a little more direct UV, even stronger. This is outside in natural light. Aren't they pretty? Pretty happy with them. Sorry guys. This was a great video and a really cool process. And make sure that you like and subscribe and set that alert bell so that you don't miss anything important that could be coming up. Like, well, I don't know, some new brand of really cool custom fishing lures. Take care of yourselves and each other, guys. We'll see you soon.